Hey everyone, back again, doing more walking, doing more talking. Got the hat on because even though it is pretty cloudy out here, sometimes the sun is out, and when it is out it gets in my eyes pretty bright, so I got the hat on. Anyways, I have been thinking about doing this for a little while, but anyhows, here we go. This video is going to be about religion. Haven't wanted to talk about this for a while, but you know, it's time. So if you don't like hearing about religion, there's a button right down there that'll let you pause the video and let you think about whether or not you want to see it or not. And if you don't, right up there is that little X button. Just click it and you don't have to hear about anything, okay? So I'll give you a few moments to make your decision. Okay, that should have been long enough. Alright, so if you're still watching this, then you don't mind hearing a little bit about religion. Now, I'll tell you, my ideas of religion are kind of odd. I'll go ahead and say, you know, these are going to be like my views on what I believe. Other people probably don't believe this. Some may, some might not. But, you know, it's all subjective. If you don't believe in God, you know, that is perfectly fine. You are free to believe whatever you want to believe. That is why you live in the United States of America. Or if you don't, well, hopefully you don't live in one of those communist countries that have to guard against dangerous thoughts. But anyways, these are my views. So I don't care what your opinion is of my opinion. Your opinion does not matter to me. Only mine does. And that's what makes us all individuals. Okay, so I'm going to show you something. Right there. Okay. Now, you should probably be familiar with that. Okay, so that is the church that I grew up next to. I literally live like right across the parking lot from it. And that is the church I went to for pretty much my entire childhood life. Both my parents are members. My mom was born into the church. My dad was a convert shortly before he met my mom. So when I was born, they're both members. I was born to the church. And, you know, my parents made me come to church every Sunday, as much as I might not have wanted to. And, you know, they taught me everything here that, you know, you're supposed to believe. And, of course, I believed it because, you know, what else am I going to believe? You know, I'm a kid. So some things I had slight problems with. I couldn't understand them, especially because I was into science fiction, big into sci-fi. And you know, when you're as big into sci-fi as a person like me is, and you know, you have tons of free time on your hands because you have like no TV at all, your mind starts thinking, why this? How that? You know, it becomes very difficult to accept certain things. But you know, as a kid, I just, you know, accepted them at face value because that's what I've been taught. That's what my parents believed, and so that was what I was led to believe as well. Well, about the time that I got out of high school, this was before the economy crashed, mind you. This was in 2002. The economy crashed in like 2008. So here it is, 2002. I got a job at a grocery store pretty much a month after I graduated from high school. I mean, it was just that easy. I didn't even really get the job myself. My parents were at this grocery store shopping, and you know, they saw the manager, and my mom says, "Oh, my son is looking for a job." And the manager said, "Well, if he's looking for a job, then why isn't he down here?" So I went down there, got an application, filled it out, got an interview, and I was working like literally like the next week. So a month after I'm out of high school, I have a job, Wish it was that easy now, but unfortunately it's not. In any case, because I started working, you know, my job made time for my school schedule. You know, I was going to college, community college. They made time for my school, but they didn't make time for church, you know. School was something that they made an exception for, but religion, no. Unless you absolutely insisted on it, and were a lot higher up the food chain than I was. You know, as a starting level employee, I was lucky that they made exceptions for my school. In any case, you know, I'm working. And I'm not going to church because I have to work on Sunday. And then I got into the military. And they don't make exceptions for anything. You know? So, I didn't go to church for probably, I'm going to say, regularly. I didn't go to church regularly for probably, let's say 7 years. Let's say 7 years. And then, you know, I get out of the military and I come back here. And, you know, here's this church still there that my parents are still going to. And, you know, but as, you know, during my time away, I kind of, you know, as you know, living on my own, being my own man, you know, it became extremely difficult for me to accept all these things that had been taught. I mean, you know, honestly, I mean, you look at the world around you. I mean, seriously, like look at the world around you. You know, look at all this stuff, and it's very easy to believe that all this stuff is just created because of evolution. You know, there's a big bang, the universe was created just like it says so in you know, the universe of Stephen Hawking, or that one, you know, cool older Asian guy, I forget his name. You know, the universe was formed, the sun was formed, what was left over formed all the planets, and we happened to end up on the third one because of, you know, all these chemicals that did whatever they had to do to create simple life, which then evolved. So, for me to, I mean, I don't know, they teach you, at least when I was in school, they taught you two forms of creation. They taught you, they taught divine creation, and they taught evolution. Now, evolution obviously got much more heavily taught, because, you know, it's, you have a lot of people who, you know, cry foul whenever religion comes into schools. But they did actually teach a bit of, what do you call it, like intelligent creation, something, whatever it is that has to do with, you know, God creating everything. I don't even know if they do that now. I was in 6th grade when they did that. But there are, yeah, I like I said, I'm huge into sci-fi, and so I was always wondering, you know, what if there's, you know, like parallel universes, if that, you know, or alternate realities that, like, you know, for example, in this reality, I am, you know, 5'9". I'm too fat. I hardly have any money at all. My dating prospects are thin. I got an injured back. Blah, 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 blah. Well, what if, you know, God decided to, you know, he wanted to see how people would do when they were presented with different situations, different living situations. So let's say that in an alternate reality that actually existed, I was, 6'1", 6'2", in great shape, was a successful businessman, made plenty of money, had a beautiful wife, 1 or 2 kids, and generally enjoyed life. You know, just to see how things would be different. You know, I would think about things like this. And I said, does something like that exist? I don't know. What is on the other side of black holes? Does everything just, all the matter just get compressed down into just a, a singularity? Or is there a white hole on the opposite side, whereas everything is sucked into a black hole, and a white hole, everything is pushed out? Is there another side to a black hole? What is on the far side of the galaxy? Are there aliens living on alien planets? Stuff like that. I wouldn't say it's really deep. It kind of is. But sometimes it just sounds like nonsense. But, they are really all valid questions. So, there are certain things that the church teaches. I'm not going to go into really in-depth stuff. But, I'm just going to try and keep with what I believe. Alright? So, the church teaches that God created worlds without number. Worlds without number. So when you look up into the night sky and you see all those stars, chances are very good that there is at least one planet orbiting around some of those stars. And, scientists will even say that, it is theoretically, mathematically impossible that in this vast universe, only one planet, this one we are on right now, could have life or intelligent life. It is just mathematically impossible that out of the trillions of stars out there, there are billions of them that have planets. And out of those billions of them that have planets, there are millions of them that have planets that are capable of supporting life. And out of the millions that are capable of supporting life, there have to be hundreds, if not thousands, that have intelligent life. It's just a matter of math. It is absolutely impossible that this planet would be the one and only planet that could support human life, or just life in general. And then there's all the theoretical stuff of, well, what if a planet can't support human life? What if it can support different kinds of life? Not carbon-based life, but silicon-based life. But, we're not going to get into that. Essentially, this church teaches that God created worlds without number. So that matches up with what scientists have said. There are indeed all these worlds, almost without number. And the church also teaches that God put all of his children on these different planets. So, what that essentially means is that out of all these planets that were created, the ones that can support life as we know it would have life on them. Intelligent life. And that they looked like us. Now, I know that it would be absolutely impossible for them to be completely like us. I'm not saying that it is absolutely impossible, but it is somewhat unlikely, just because, plants are green because of the color of our sun. Plants are green because of the color of our sun. Now, if our sun was red, the sky would be a different color, wouldn't be blue. The plants would be a different color. Let's say the sun was red, or the sun was blue, or heck, even the sun was green. Everything would be a different color, and probably the skin tone of the people living on those planets would be a different color. But they would be essentially what looked like humans, save for a few minor differences. So let's say that people on different planets had like blue skin, red skin, or green skin. They all would have a torso, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and probably 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. 9 or 10 fingers on each hand. Well, not each hand, but you know what I mean. 8 to 10, I suppose you would say. But in any case, there's supposed to be all these people on all these different worlds, and the church also teaches that, God created man in his own image. So, obviously, God is supposed to look like us, or we are supposed to look like God, however you want to look at that. So all this really, I wouldn't say it confounded me, but it's a lot of information to take in and process. So, the ideas of like miracles and all these fantastic things that were supposed to have happened. I mean, if you happen to read the Bible, there are plenty of miracles in there. I mean, things that you would never imagine being able to happen, like Moses parting the Red Sea, or dead people coming back to life. Not in a zombie fashion like in the movies, but they actually like rise from the dead and they are resurrected. People being cured of incurable diseases instantly, stuff like that. You're as a kid, I was taught all this stuff happened, and I was just supposed to accept it at face value. You're supposed to have faith. You're supposed to learn, or have faith. You find faith in whatever. But it was extremely difficult for me to find faith in all this stuff because, I mean, I was not a stupid person. I needed proof. I needed proof. And there's no proof. It's not like God's going to come down from heaven and present himself to me and say, hey, here I am, and look, here's some magic tricks that I can do. Just, things that are impossible for a normal person to do. I mean, not even Chris Angel could pull this off. So, that wasn't going to happen. So how was I going to find something to believe or have faith in? So for a while, I kind of stopped, just really ultimately believing that God existed. I mean, I believe that some greater power existed, but everything that I had been taught was more or less called into question or just ignored, just to make things easier for myself. Well, after a while, I started thinking, well, what if I could quantify this stuff? What if I took all the things that I've been taught here and I put a believable spin on them that also happened to coincide with some of the stuff that the church taught? So, ultimately, here is what I believe. And I'll try to bang it out in 2.5 minutes, because that's how long I've got. Alright, so here's the deal. Here is pretty much what I believe, just so I can quantify it in my mind and have something that I can actually have faith in and believe. Alright, now, there is a God, and he is more or less an alien. Not an alien as in, he looks like a, Hollywood movie alien, but an alien in the fact that he is not a person who is born or lived on Earth. So an alien just because he doesn't live on Earth. Alright? And they say that he created the universe. Well, let's say that God is an extra-dimensional being of infinite wisdom. He has a perfect knowledge of science. He is of a race of beings that are so super advanced that we cannot even comprehend their science. So he used his infinite wisdom and knowledge of science in order to create the universe. The Big Bang happened because he created it through science. Alright, so suddenly things are making a bit more sense in my mind. Alright, now, let's say that, God is lonely. He wants to create children for himself. So, almost like the Emperor from Warhammer 40,000, he takes a sample of his DNA, he heavily dilutes it, and creates humanity in his own image, and puts it on this planet. Now, there's the whole thing with like cavemen and stuff. I don't know about any of that. I mean, there's like still a missing link, but at the same time, I don't know. Cavemen is something that I have not figured out. But it could be a very early form of man. Now let's say that, creating, if you are to create an entire universe, you have to be pretty smart. But let's say that God wanted to make us perfect. Perfect. So he had to have a little trial and error. I guess you could quantify cavemen like that. Trial and error, early trial and error. Early cavemen, or what came before the missing link, or whatnot, were experiments that failed, or they were just experiments and they yielded successful results, but they ultimately died off. As for dinosaurs, something that I was told while I was going to church here is that dinosaurs were created by God and put on Earth in order to prepare the Earth for man to live on it. Now, what do we do when we want to drive our car? Well, we have to put oil in it so the engine is well lubricated, and we have to put gasoline in the tank so the thing can actually run. What are those things called? Fossil fuels. So, let's say God, in his infinite wisdom, knew that we would need to rely heavily upon fossil fuels, so he created dinosaurs to roam the earth and eventually die off, go into the ground, and create coal, oil, gas, all that stuff. So, I'm not one of those people that says, God just put them bones in the earth to confuse us. I believe that God created dinosaurs, had them live and die in order to create fuel for us to use. That seems to make sense. Okay, so we have the universe being created, the earth being prepared, and then us living here. Now, obviously, our bodies are not perfect. So, I believe that long ago, when the perfect human was first created, Adam and Eve, the Bible says that God created Adam, and then he took a rib from Adam and used it to make Eve. So he said, okay, I finally created the perfect human. This is what I wanted. All my trial and error has paid off. This is what I wanted. Let me go and take a sample, a genetic sample from this creature I've created in my own image, and use the DNA to create another human, but of an opposite gender, so that they can procreate on their own. All right, that makes sense if you put science into it. And but as time has gone on, humanity's genetic code has slowly broken down, so that unlike Adam and Eve, who lived for nearly 1,000 years, as the Bible says, we only live for an average of 70 to 90 years. Now, I know that a few hundred years ago, life expectancy was maybe 30. If you were 30, like I am now, you were considered to be old. You were elderly. But, our medical science has begun to progress, and we've brought life expectancy up from 30 to somewhere between 70 and 90. All right? So, that sounds reasonable too. All right, then there's the whole thing where God created, everything in 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested. Well, people who interpret things literally will say, yes, 7 days, as in the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and it took only 6 of those for him to create everything. Well, that's just stupid. I'm going to go ahead and say that, whoever, I forget who wrote the Bible, but whoever wrote that passage in the Bible, God was, I suppose, telling it to him so that humanity would have a record of, his creation. So he used the term day and night as something that whoever was writing the Bible could quantify. They could imagine that. They could say, hey, yeah, okay, I get that. But what a day really meant was an age, a certain period of time. So he said, okay, so God created the the heavens and the earth, meaning the Big Bang and the planets forming and the stars forming in one day. Okay, well, let's say that day was just a period of time. Let's say it was, I forget how long it was. The universe was supposed to have formed. Let's say several billion years. That was one day. All right, and then we have more and more days and all that stuff. So anyhow, I've gone on long enough. It's almost 25 minutes in. I need to put it into this. But essentially, that is what I believe. I believe in God and that God is not some mystical being full of magic, but he is an actual intelligent creature that resembles us very much, just has an infinite wisdom of science and knowledge and technology and all that stuff. Because like it said in the movie Thor, the Asgardian technology was so advanced that to humans it would appear as though it was magic. You see? God's miracles, I go ahead and say in my mind, well, okay, so God just created blah, or just did blah. No, I can say, okay, God used his science and technology to create this effect. I can understand that. You can understand that. So that is my belief in God. And religion has unfortunately just put a big mystical twist on it. But essentially, that's what I believe. That's what I believe to be true. And, atheists will just swear up and down that there is no God because, they can't see any proof. Well, there will be no proof. But people that can't believe that God is some mystical figure of might and magic will probably be able to believe that there is a God figure who just created everything and made all these effects happen, these miracles, through his understanding and use of science and technology. Anyways, that is the end of this video. If you have anything to say that isn't a dumbass comment, or just a dumbass troll, whatever, go ahead and leave it down in the comments below. I read everything that is sent to me. Try to be respectful. I try to be respectful of other people's beliefs. And that's all I have here this time. I am signing out.